All righty. Whoa. I don't have to be so loud. Thank you. First of all, I have to say that I have never been formally asked to speak at any conference, so when I got Bonnie Brown's email, I fell out of my chair and then I shrieked just a little bit. You know you've arrived when Bonnie Brown is talking to you. I'm going to apologize in advance. I didn't realize we were being live streamed. I'm going to try really hard not to curse. I have a little bit of a problem with bad words, and I am a squirrel and easily distracted by shiny objects. So if I get off track, somebody give me the sign. What I'm here to do today is really not so much teach a class, but to talk about the story of Front Street, and truly going from a pound to a place of performance. Not perfection, but performance. I'm going to speak my truth today, leave you with 3 things that I think are super, uber important to be successful. Before I forget, do we have any municipal shelters in the room? 1, 2, 3. The rest of you are nonprofits? Municipals? Okay. So the nonprofits, you have no excuses. Just saying. Municipals, it can be done. We're municipal. It takes one little spark to create a huge forest fire. So I'm hoping today when you walk out of here, your butt's hot, right? That I've gotten you interested in changing your views in how you're managing your businesses. And it is a business, and let us not forget that. Run it like a business, a profitable one. And I don't mean just about money. I'm a Frank Sinatra fan. I did this my way. And I don't know if it was the right way, but it was my way and it felt good. So I'm going to tell you about it. I do believe that the leader of an organization, though, is responsible. It is their duty to be stellar. And when an organization is failing, we see a lot of finger pointing in the animal welfare business. Oh, that shelter has a high kill or blah, 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 blah. Don't blame the people doing the work. It's not their fault. So this is what the Front Street Animal Shelter looks like for the last 22 years. I don't have a lot of faith in 1996 data because it was manual mode, but it's in 97 that they implemented Chameleon and started truly tracking the data. And I don't know how well you can see those numbers at the top of the bars, but that's 96 through 2017. And the top of the bar shows the number of dogs and cats coming into the facility for that given year. Peak was 13,000. And then the numbers in the gold bar, in the middle of the gold bar, represents the animals that were euthanized in that given year. And then the blue bar represents the ones that left with a heartbeat. So in 2000, there were some community activists that thought the city of Sacramento needed to do a better job in the animal welfare world, and they were right. So HSUS came in, did a blue ribbon committee study, and they hired a beautiful, wonderful shelter manager who will remain nameless. And he came in and things got a little bit better. Look at that. It went from 32% live release to 37 in 2001. And the next year, his little step stool went up just a tiny bit. And I still call it a step stool because he stayed on through 2009 and it looks like he got incredibly lazy. Status quo is okay. I don't know what happened to the activists. But for the next, 6 years, it hovered at 32%, 35%. And then he retired, and they hired a woman who had been in the business for 30 years, a nationally recognized euthanasia expert. And she came in, and those were the 2 darkest years at Front Street. 27% live release, 30% live release for those cumulative years. So that's when the city of Sacramento was approached by the Sacramento SPCA to shut the shelter down. And I think I got ahead of myself. What I think you really should look at, though, on this chart is it's an economic forecaster. The 2004, 2005 period, we were all flush with money, and you notice animal intake dips there. And then California economy took a tank, and you see intake goes up dramatically. Then we saw a decline as things are getting better, and then the president got elected. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not blaming the president. But it's really kind of interesting. I'm not into economics, but I'm going to find somebody who's going to forecast what's going to happen next for the animals. So if you'll notice, though, the step stool becomes a staircase. And it's a stairway to the front door, not the stairway to heaven anymore. And that's what I'll be sharing with you today in this next hour. Hopefully I can stay on track. But status quo is not okay, ever. It's not okay. This, and I have both of these charts. The previous chart is taped to the door of my office, and all my employees and all my volunteers look at it and know about it and can regurgitate it like I can every single day. This chart represents my tenure on Front Street, and I look at it every single day to remind myself to never go backwards. You can't make any excuses, period. So how we calculate our live release rate is not like everybody else. It's total cats and dogs in the door alive and total cats and dogs out the door alive. If they die in our care, and we all know those neonatal foster kittens often don't thrive and do die in our care, we count those against us in our live release rate. So last year we closed out at, I think, 86.5%. We count owner euthanasia against us. We count we don't use the Silomar Accords. I think they're hokey, but that's how we do our math, and that's good enough for me because nobody can say I'm cooking my numbers. What matters to me is performance and results. And yes, I love animals and I care about them, but it's a business and it always needs to get better and improve and try new things. And for me, this is also not about becoming no-kill. I don't give a rat's tail about that term. We use it so divisively in our profession. I think it's does more harm than good. But I guess if I wanted to peel out all those things that we could be peeling out and calculating our live release rate, we would qualify at that 90%, I think. But again, I don't care. I do want to sleep at night. I don't believe that we should be putting dangerous animals out into our community, and I'd love to talk to you all in the bar about that later. But that's another class. I'm a public servant too. I work for the citizens of the city of Sacramento who pay taxes, and it's my job to be judicious with their money and do good work. How this was okay to Sacramento's taxpayers baffles me. How was it possibly okay for all of that dying to occur? And that shelter manager, who's a very nice man, by the way, that was there all those years, was the top paid shelter manager in the history of the city. And that was okay. But it's not okay with me. So, how in the world did I get to Front Street? This is pretty much how I live my life. I don't stay in my own lane. And if you come to the bar with me tonight, you'll understand why. I've been with the city of Sacramento for 31 years. I started when I was 11 years old. And my first job there was a 911 dispatcher, and I spent 19 years with the Sacramento Police Department. And when I left, I was the comm center director, and the city of Sacramento wanted to start 311. Do you guys know what that is? 311 does everything that police and fire don't do. It's most major cities that have it. It's a 24-hour call center. You know, you missed my trash, there's a stray dog, street light out, that kind of thing. So I reduced my digits from 911 to 311 and launched 311 for the city of Sacramento. And my life was good. It was easy. I didn't think about animals dying in the middle of the night and lose sleep over that. I didn't even know a Shih Tzu from a pit bull, right? But I was in a department with Fleet and Animal Care and 311 and a couple of other things when the city of Sacramento was planning to outsource the shelter to the Sacramento SPCA because we were so dreadful. We were last. I can't say the bad word because I know we're doing live feed, but it was really bad. Anyway, I didn't know that though. I had no idea, like most citizens, that the chart looked that bad and what that really meant. So my director over general services said, I need you to go to the shelter and I need you to shut the place down. You have 3 months to close down the books. And I'm like, whoa, I'm afraid of dogs. I can't do this. And she says, you don't have to ever touch a dog or a cat. Just go over there, get the books ready so that we can hand it off to SPCA because they're gonna do a much better job than we can. And I went, I'm a good soldier, I always have been. And the shelter manager was there concurrently with me. That was the nationally recognized euthanasia expert, who happened to be a very, very dear friend of mine. We socialized out of work, but I had no idea what she was really doing at the shelter. I started asking a lot of questions and not minding my own business like I was told to stay on the book side of things, not the animal side of things. And everything baffled me. You kill black cats because they're black? We've all heard that, right? You know, an animal can't sit in a cage for more than 5 days and nobody adopts it because it's cruel to the animal and it should be euthanized. There's not enough room at the shelter, and no, there aren't any fosters, so we have to euthanize. We have to do this. It's terrible, but we have to do it. None of that. I was just a citizen with rose-colored glasses on that didn't know a thing about the animal sheltering world, and I think I pissed her off because the Sacramento SPCA had created a position for someone for when they acquired the city shelter, and she abruptly quit and got that job, just waiting to take us over. People always say, oh my God, Gina, you love animals, you're so wonderful. I have to be really, really honest. What inspired me to do what we did was the 31 people that worked there at the time that were going to lose their jobs. That's what ignited the spark in me to prove that we could save it. I'm very competitive. I love to win. You know, winning, I have a t-shirt. I'm the kind of person that will compete with you on the treadmill at the gym and you don't even know I'm racing you. It's a kooky thinking, and you can see I haven't been to the gym lately. But I was convinced that this could change. And I thought that the 31 people who worked there could tell me how to do it. Because I don't know how to, end up a respiratory infection, and I don't know about trifectant and laterally recumbent and all these, pyrantal things. I did not know that. I know a lot now. It's enough to be dangerous. So I gathered all the staff into one room, and we taped pieces of paper all over the walls, and I still have those pieces of paper. We pull them out once a year, and I say, what is it going to take to save your jobs? What is it going to take for us to be #1 in Sacramento? Tell me. And they did. They said, nobody knows who we are. Nobody knows where we are. Truly, there was a baby monitor in the lobby in case someone came in to adopt a pet. And I kid you not, that's how many people were coming into our shelter. We were called Animal Care Services City of Sacramento. Well, that's still our legal name, but I said from now on, we will never call ourselves anything else but the Front Street Animal Shelter because we're on Front Street. We began rebranding. We never get any media attention, they said. They never tell our stories, and we have so many stories. So I said, fine, I promise you that we'll be in the news every week for the next year, no matter what it takes me to do that. And I succeeded with exception of 1 week. We don't have a foster program. We don't have volunteers that come in and help us. It was all these things. We don't have enough people. We don't have enough money, blah, 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 blah. So I said, fine, I'll raise money. How about I do some fundraising? The year previous to my arrival, the city shelter received $26,000 in donations. There was a nonprofit arm that started out as a rescue, the Friends of. They weren't raising any money for the shelter. So we started fundraising. We closed last calendar year out with $500,000 directly to the shelter in fundraising and $500,000 to the nonprofit. So we went from $26,000 to $1 million a year, and we put that money to good use. I don't have any cherrywood furniture, I just want you to know. All of that money really is spent on how do we save lives. And so I made a commitment to my team that we were going to do the things that they said needed to be done in order for us to be successful. And what I needed from them was support. I says, if we're going to grow a volunteer program, you have to be nice to those people. They have to be our friends. And that's, I don't know about you, this is rhetorical, but how many of your staff love your volunteers? Some shelters don't have a really family relationship. And well, we do, and I'll talk about them in a minute. But I was convinced that we could fix it, and I begged the city manager at the time, John Shirey, somebody I have a lot of respect for, to give me 1 year so I could prove it, just 1 year. And John gave it to me, and he says, while you're at it, you can still manage the 311 call center. So I did. Almost died. That's why I look so old. I'm like the President of the United States. I was really young and cute when I got that job. So there's 3 points that I think are important for you to be successful. And some of you are already successful, right? We're all successful in our own ways. But you always got to have something to chase, right? Matthew McConaughey said that when he won his Oscar or something, and I never forgot it. So point number 1 is you have to take risks. I am not risk averse. The last thing I want to do is consult with the city attorney when I want to make a decision. Very last thing. I despise the fear. People are so afraid. Fear is paralyzing. Fear drives everything. You guys know that, right? we're so afraid to make a mistake. We're so afraid to try something new, because what if something bad happens? My motto and our motto at Front Street, you can come visit and ask my staff, what does she always say when something goes wrong? Did anybody die? If nobody died, two-legged or four-legged, we're golden. You're gonna make mistakes, but you cannot be risk averse or you won't accomplish anything. You know, if you wanna sit around and plan and analyze and develop all these manuals on, you know, what's the one that I threw in the garbage? Defining adaptability, go right ahead. Get busy and get to work is what you need to be doing. So I'm a big, big risk taker. As you can see, there's a story behind this picture. There's another term we use at Front Street a lot. Try anything once, twice if it feels good, and the third time it is policy. I kid you not. Everything we do is an experiment, and we start with the end in mind. I do not have time to work out all the nitnoid stuff. There are people that work for me that I make them insane, and they like to write the policy part. But let's just try it and work backwards. Let's experiment, everything is a pilot, what worked, what didn't, and now let's craft the policy that supports whatever that is. I forgot to turn my page. I can't do this without my notes. I'm not Kelly Bowling. Always keep an eighth of an eye cocked out for something better. The story behind this, jumping out of an airplane at 8,000 feet, I'd never done that before. My best friend's husband, Wendy, was killed in a horrible car accident on the way to work right before his 40th birthday. And he was an obese man who spent a year losing 180 pounds. And it was his wish to jump out of an airplane on his birthday. This goes back to keep an eighth of an eye cocked out for something, right? Opportunity. So Wendy told us, her dear friends, that we were all gonna jump out of the airplane for Dave for his birthday. And I didn't want to. But my crafty brain said, Wendy, would it be okay if I turned it into a fundraiser for Front Street? How awful is that, right? Memorializing my best friend's husband's death. Fortunately, she's a big one at Canine Companions for Independence and supports the animal world tremendously. She thought it was a great idea. It actually garnered some really nice media. That was, I think, 4 years ago. I only made $7,000 jumping out of an airplane, but I think that it's a good reflection of being risk averse. I mean, what was the worst thing that could have happened to me? Never mind. But anyways, that was an important day to me. I had a lot of meaning, and it really taught me that taking chances is important. You know, so I raised $7,000. That's not a lot of money. We know that, right? A couple of fracture repair surgeries and that's gone. But it got a lot of community attention. Who is this shelter manager jumping out of an airplane for the animal shelter? I didn't get any adoptions out of it, but we got attention. And that was the thing, and I'll talk a lot about that, is infiltrating your community, always being on their minds, not in a bad way, but in a positive way. And it's not that hard. You know, this is not rocket science. I am not that intelligent. I'm crafty, but I'm not that smart. So I think anybody can do this. So back to being risk averse. The state of California legalized marijuana, right? As did Nevada, I think. Is that correct? We can all smoke dope tonight at the bar? Okay. This is a big one for me, and I think this has served us well. Quit thinking about those pet store adoptions. We've got to be where we're not expected to be. And we have to do things that people don't expect us to do. So this is the 515 Collective. They're, you know, the most reputable marijuana dispensary in the Sacramento City. They're actually around the corner from the animal shelter, and their owner came over and wanted to do an adoption event on 420. For those of you that don't know, I'm sure you all don't know because you're not dope smokers, 420 is National Marijuana Day. Who knew? So we did. And they had their cute girls in their marijuana dresses and their cute boys, and we did these photo shoots. This did not go without criticism, okay? There was this little piece that felt this was horrible because people that smoke marijuana are gonna adopt dogs and cats, and oh my God, what's gonna happen? You know, well, people that drink alcohol adopt dogs and cats, okay, so get over it. But this got a lot of attention, right? This is unusual. We're reaching a completely different demographic, and I don't mean a bunch of stoners, because I saw a lot of grandmas going in there for edibles. But I will say, I don't ask for permission often, but I did run this by City Hall, because I just wasn't about to lose my job. I don't like to discredit the city, but the city said, absolutely, they're a legitimate bona fide business, go for it. So I also like to think about the millennials. Oh man, what a great group. Do we have any millennials in the room? I just love millennials. I do. You guys are so smart. And you think differently. We've got a group in our business in Sacramento called Redtail Technology. And they're one of the hippest, most fun places to work in Sacramento. They have a slide in their office. All their employees bring their dogs to work. So we decided to approach them because they're pretty hip and millennial-like and techie. About fostering Front Street dogs at their business. So we actually did a foster class for all of their employees, and every week they have a new Front Street foster dog at their business. They've gotten a ton of attention because of it, a lot of popular support. It was even in the newspaper, which they certainly didn't complain about. They recently are our premier sponsor for our Front Street Brew Fest that's coming up. Yes, we do beer on Front Street, but we tapped into a completely different segment of Sacramento by partnering with Redtail, and that's why I mentioned the millennials. They're just so cool. But if that's too scary to you and you don't want to do marijuana, there are other things you could be doing. 4 years ago or 5 years ago, I guess, the Sacramento Ballet was struggling, and we met with them every December. They do the Nutcracker the entire month. Well, it has been rebranded now. It is the Muttcracker, and Front Street dogs appear in the ballet, as do kittens. We do cat and dog adoptions in the lobby, and there's nothing better. Okay, so first of all, if you have season tickets to the ballet, you have what? Expendable income, right? I always think, who do I want to have adopt my cats and dogs, right? What kind of people? These kinds of people. It was mind-blowing to see the grandmas with their little granddaughters, and they're all dressed up and they're patting shoes. It's Christmas time, and they're fawning over this litter of puppies, and they're, oh my God, what breed is this? These are pit bulls. No! More rich people that have ballet tickets now own pit bulls than ever before. We reached a population that wouldn't typically come to the pound, right? They can afford to go to a breeder, and some of them still do, and I don't care. But we've got their attention. One thing, we knew it was epic when we made the front page of the Sacramento Bee the first year that we did this, above the fold on Thanksgiving Day. That's the most read newspaper of the year. I still have it. It was just music to my ears. Anyways, think about where you shouldn't be. Where do people not expect to see you? My first year on Front Street, my sister-in-law and I did all the offsite adoption events. I'm digressing now, squirrel. I did 52 offsite adoption events on my weekends my first year. I didn't know about adoption counseling or any of that crap, but we went everywhere. I bought a tent with our name on it, and I'll talk about our offsite adoption events now. Is out of control, out of control. Again, going back to risk, Stray Pride. Sunday is Sacramento's Pride Parade. 15,000 LGBT will take over Capitol Mall. It is my favorite parade of all. We march in all the parades. But when I first got this job, I started thinking about what segment of our business community should I tap into? Who can help me? Because I needed to make the money that I promised my staff I would make. So I joined the Rainbow Chamber of Commerce and started, I'm not LGBT, but they let me join. And I started going to their mixers and meeting people. Fred Palmer, Outward Magazine, the biggest publication, LGBT publication in the Sacramento region, is a personal friend, and they started helping me. There were bankers, there were all sorts of business owners, and they're very philanthropic when it comes to animals. And they've been my hugest, I think, the biggest supporters overall in the Sacramento region. So they asked me if I would march in the Pride Parade with dogs in tutus. And we came up with Stray Pride as our theme. This is the very first year. These are not my volunteers or employees, but they hung out all day long. They ended up adopting. So I did it. And I invited my colleagues in Sacramento at the other shelters to join me. And what do you think happened? Oh, we can't do that. That's too risque. Oh my God, have you lost your mind? Well, Sunday when I get back to town, they're going to San Diego tomorrow after this. Sunday's the Pride Parade, and guess who's going to be there? Sac County Shelter, Sacramento SPCA. SPCA has a full-page ad in Outward Magazine this week, so they finally came on board. And it's a revolution, but what does it take? One little spark. Somebody who's not afraid. I got nothing to lose. I can retire, right? So I can get away with murder now. It just gets better and better and better. So I shared this a little bit at lunch today. Years ago, 5 years ago, I was approached by TICA, which is the International Cat Show Society. There's people that really show cats. And they wanted to know if I would bring shelter cats to the cat show at the Hilton Hotel or whatever it was. They have shows in hotels. And do cat adoptions there and let our cats compete in the household cat category. So I said, sure. And my employees said I was crazy. The cats would get stressed. They would get upper respiratory infection. I said, we'll get them a hotel room. We'll spend the night. I raised money for that. And we're going to do it. So we took 19 cats to that very first cat show. Farrell Fawcett is now an internationally recognized cat show winner, adopted by one of the top judges. We won, 100 awards. We have plaques and trophies, and no cat died as a result of going to the cat show. Everybody gets adopted. And now when I tell my staff we don't have to do the cat show this year, they're like, no! It's like their idea. Yeah, okay, we'll go. They think it's their idea, and I'm okay with that. But yeah, you just have to be kind of wild. This one's big. Trust. I believe most people are good. And when I first got into this business, what I kept hearing is those people, those other people, those bad people. If people weren't good, they wouldn't stay in the lines on the freeway. They wouldn't stop at the red light, and everybody would be robbing the bank. Most people are good, and you have to believe that. Have to believe it. You have to believe that your employees are the most amazing people on the planet, right? Let them be. Show them what they're capable of, and let them do it. Same with volunteers. Our volunteer program, which I will get to, is out of control in a very good way. But they're our biggest supporters, they're our biggest donors, they're our biggest champions. They're out there and they're telling all their friends and all their coworkers about their volunteer time at Front Street. It's almost untenable how large the program has gotten. But when I have one daughter, children are overrated, but try anything once. But I have one daughter, and I raised her like a little adult person, but I set very high expectations for her. And the bar was up here, and she didn't disappoint me. And I feel the same responsibility to the people that work with me and for me. If I set the bar down here, guess what? They'll meet it, right? Down here is not good enough. It has to be up here. And I just keep raising it. So what's the next thing we're gonna do? But they haven't disappointed me yet. I also believe that when your employees make a mistake or they fail to meet your expectations, if you're the boss, it's your fault. Maybe you weren't clear enough with your expectations. Maybe you didn't give them the right kind of training. Once in a while you'll get a rogue bandit out there, but most people want to do a good job just like most people are good. This is my team minus about 12 people. I couldn't get the vet staff out there. They were doing surgery and they just couldn't stop. But that's a part of my motley crew on Front Street. We're very motley. We look like urban hipsters. We're tatted up. We've got lots of piercings. We don't ever match. Nobody wears a name tag, but we're hipsters. I also believe it's very important to find out what people are good at, whether it's staff or volunteers. You have to ask questions. You have to get to know people. You have to find out what they're passionate for and let them do it. How often as leaders, who's the boss in here? Are there bosses in here? Big decision makers? There's plenty of you. You got to figure out what people are good at. So often, we know that Joe is great at this, but Joe pisses me off. So Joe's going to go clean cats for the rest of his life. I'm never going to give him a chance to work with dogs. What a big mistake that is. But I see that. I see that a lot, regardless of industry. And it's just so counterintuitive to what we should be doing. It is our job to give them every opportunity to be superstars. In the front, can you see this right here, arrow? In the fuchsia shirt, you see her? That's Lise Johnson. She's 55 years old. She's been in the animal welfare world for, 20-something years. Worked for the National Euthanasia Expert twice. Anyway, she works for me now. And Lise is smart. She's an animal care technician. She's not in a position of leadership, but she's very smart. And I felt, needed a boost. So the city of Sacramento opened its very first winter triage shelter last December. where we house 200 homeless people experiencing homelessness and their pets. No barriers. They can bring all their stuff. They can bring all their animals, and they can sleep in bed in their bunk beds with their dogs and their cats. And I said to Lise, I need someone, because Front Street was tasked with managing the animal side of the house on that project. Did not know what I was doing, I never do, but I needed someone that I knew needed a boost and was smart enough to do it. So I put her in charge. And since December 8th, it's still open. Now it's the summer triage shelter. It was supposed to close, but it never will. And Lisa's job is to register, track. She knows the name of every person there that has a pet. Both ends of the leash matter to her. They're all registered. We've spayed and neutered practically everybody. Intake vaccines, behavior training. Sometimes they get sick and injured. Lisa is the liaison between Volunteers of America, the City of Sacramento, and Front Street. And it's been so successful and really a social experiment that PetSmart Charities came out to see us. They are opening up, well, they just opened up a grant for any of you that have, that do work with people experiencing homelessness, just a plug for that. So I suspect that Front Street will be chasing a grant and that we will find a way to do even more. Whether you think people experiencing homelessness should have pets or not, they do. Are there homeless people in Nevada? It's colder here. California has, what, a quarter of the nation's homeless? If you haven't been to Sacramento lately, there are tents everywhere, there are people everywhere, same like LA, San Francisco, and we've got to solve the problem. And part of solving that problem is helping people on the streets that have pets, helping them take better care of those pets, because if you take them away from them, guess what? They're going to get another one anyway. So let's make sure the one they have is healthy, safe, and behaviorally sound. So I felt that I gave Lisa an opportunity. I've created a monster now. She got to sit on a really cool panel with some really muckety mucks down at the Animal Care Conference in LA a couple months back. And here she is, just a regular ACT, getting to do a really cool project. So put people in positions where they'll excel. It doesn't always work, but most of the time it does. Does everybody know what Nextdoor is? Next Wine is what I call it. So for those of you that don't know, Nextdoor is a social media platform for neighborhoods. It's typically overseen by a sheriff's department or police department. Every town with lots of neighborhoods, they're all sectioned off. So you can talk to your neighbors about, I need a plumber, or did you hear the sirens? What happened? Blah, blah, blah. It's really used a lot, though, by our communities for lost pets or found pets. So I tried forever to get my own Nextdoor account. And the city of Sacramento wouldn't do it. They just kept saying no to me. And I don't know what they thought I was going to do. It's not like I'm crazy or anything. But I have a volunteer named Jim who apparently rubs elbows with one of the council members, and he made a phone call the next day I had my Nextdoor account. And we've been doing this for a year. I think I'm the only shelter in California doing it. There may be another shelter in the United States. But every single day, I have 3 volunteers, they take turns, that post every stray dog that comes in, or lost dog, that comes into our facility on Nextdoor to the appropriate neighborhood. And it went insane. RTO rates went up, community support went up, and we save every positive comment. We're always on their minds. Every single day, the residents of Sacramento see the Front Street Animal Shelter posting posts like this. They're very structured. We use the same language. I know you can't read that or anything. I'm happy to share this information with any of you. It's one of the best things we have ever done. More donations, more community support. We're on their minds all the time. Animals are getting back home. It can't get any better than that. And I know you can't see that, but that's a post underneath that dog I just showed you, and it says, "This is my dog." It is baffling to me that people still don't know where to go look for their pets. Where do I find my pet? Where do I look? How long do I look? And this is a free tool. It's free. It's easy. But volunteers are in charge. It's been a year. Nobody died. We haven't gotten in trouble yet. There's only been positive outcomes. And I cannot convince my colleagues to do this. So if any of you are convinced, talk to me later. It truly is remarkable. Yeah, of course you have to have rules. And when there are comments, you have to appropriately respond to them. But Jim, the volunteer who's an attorney, I trust him. He's smarter than I am. Do not be risk averse. One of the things about trust is we have 2,000 volunteers in our volunteer program. 1,000 of them are active. Last year they gave us 100,000 hours of service, which is equal to having 49 and a half additional employees, and I would have had to pay them $2.4 million. I can't open my doors on Front Street without our community volunteers. There are people in our community. There's vice presidents that volunteer, and there's retired old ladies, and we have 12, as young as 12, as old as 87. We have blind, we have wheelchair bound, we have developmentally delayed volunteers who come in with coaches. Everybody is welcome at Front Street, unless you're a pedophile, okay? Pretty much, or an animal abuser. You laugh, it's true. And it's easy. You recruit, you train, you trust, you celebrate, and you repeat. Our volunteers do everything that we do, with the exception of two things. They don't operate, they won't let me operate either, and they don't euthanize. That's it. But they disinfect kennels, they train dogs, they transport dogs to Idaho, they do cat shows, they do everything. And in the beginning, it was a little hard for our staff to accept, but they admit now that some of our volunteers are better kennel cleaners than they are. They no longer have to do dishes, they no longer have to do laundry, they rarely have to scoop poop, and they get to do the things they love, like dog play groups and enrichment and behavior modification. So it's flipped. Now, our volunteers truly are a part of our family. We're not without our occasional kerfuffles, but I believe everybody has a place, and when you have that huge cadre of people supporting you, and I'm telling you, they come in handy. Oh, God, they come in handy. Hold on a minute. Where am I? Kelly Bolin, I am not. And she didn't have paper up there. She was just talking like she knew it by heart, and here I am flipping sheets of paper with notes. Right? One of the things my staff told me when I first got there is that we often have to euthanize underage animals, injured animals, because we can't take care of them. There's not enough time, there's not enough space, and we don't have a foster program to speak of. And I know there's somebody like Rockstarish here at the conference who's going to be talking about 800 foster homes. Hopefully I can go see that. But we decided, again, to trust people. We put 4,500 animals a year into foster care, 3,500 of which are underage kittens. There's about 200 families that do the underage kittens. In July of 2010, the shelter euthanized over 700 underage kittens in 1 month. We don't euthanize that many cats in a year now. So we have to trust people. You train them, you recruit them, you teach them, and they can be from all walks of life. You know that. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir. A foster program is not rocket science, and you all probably have one. But do you have a robust one? Do you really believe that people have the ability to take care of these animals in their homes better than we do? It's rhetorical, don't answer me. Just to give you a sense, right now we have 595 kittens in foster care when I ran the numbers on Friday. Last week alone, we took in 128 kittens. The first 2 days of June, 48 kittens. For the month of May, 486 underage kittens. If we don't trust regular people to help us do this, we'd never be able to manage that volume, right? And they'd all be in the freezer. Another thing that we've absolutely gotten incredibly good at, in addition to being where we're not supposed to be, is adoption events and just community events. We do at least 100 off-site events annually. We go places where we're not expected to be. Elm, West Elm is a very high-end, ritzy furniture store in Roseville, California. Why they want to do an adoption event with us, I have no idea, but we said sure. They made a lovely donation. We had a lot of fun. That was just a few weeks ago. And we also went to the Prickly Pear, which is a cactus place. That has nothing to do with cats and dogs, right? Common denominator. Who shops at a high-end furniture store, and who's got an extra 25 bucks for a little prickly cactus? People with expendable incomes, right? I do tend to chase certain demographics to get our animals out there and garner more volunteers and garner more donations. If any of you have had adoption events at the Cactus store, you let me know. I bet nobody has. We, and all of our 150 offsite events are volunteer managed. I hear repeatedly, I have people call me, managers call me, how do you do it? How do you, in one 48-hour period, we had 6 different events. How do you pull that off? With volunteers, that's how. You trust them, you train them, right? You celebrate, repeat. They love doing it, so we should let them. You know, it's never. It really isn't them. You know, I have a volunteer who's a bank vice president, some kind of chemical engineer. These people are a lot smarter than I am. You know, one lady who's been doing our behavior evaluations side by side with our animal care technicians for the last several years ran a business, a $6 million business. She's much better at that than I am. And she was doing RBEs and keeping data. I trusted her to do that, and she didn't disappoint me. What time is it? Where am I? How am I doing?
You're good.
I'm good. I'm golden. Okay.
2:13, so.
Perfect. This is big. We talked about this at lunch too. You have stories to tell every day, every single day. We could be a TV show. I kid you not. I mean, 3 days ago, I had the police at the shelter 3 times arresting people. It was great. I mean, it was just like, it was like TV. It was like reality. It's a reality show. One of the first things that I did when I got to Front Street was make friends with the media. They do not scare me. They have complete access to our facility. The only place I don't let them freely walk into, obviously, is the surgery room. We knock first, and the euthanasia room. We knock first. But we have relationships with all of them. They're all in my phone. And when we have a story to pitch, we call them. And guess what? When they call us, what do? I answer the phone. I've got this guy named Bobby Mann who's amazing. He answers the phone too. If it's 8 o'clock at night and they need sound and I'm at home, they know where I live. Come on down. I never miss an opportunity to tell a story. But you have to work those relationships. You know, we've done a really, really good job. In the 6 years I've been there, we've had 90 seconds of bad press. And those were painful 90 seconds, but that's not bad for 6 years. If you Google the Front Street Animal Shelter, or you Google my name or Bobby Mann, you'll see pages and pages and pages of wonderful, wonderful stories. The city of Sacramento acknowledges, our electeds acknowledge, that we bring more positive press to the entire city than any other department in the organization, hands down. And we do that because we work it, because we made those friendships. We've gotten to this place, and I may repeat myself, that Channel 10 and Channel 13 and Channel 3 check our Facebook page every single day and our Instagram for stories. Every day, because we've got good ones to tell. And so do you. We're not unique. Same stories, different city. We also do things that don't make a whole lot of sense. Social media is extremely powerful. I know it can be used for evil, but it works if you work it, but you have to work it. It's not something you do on the side. It's not you get some intern from the local college and you tell them to put pictures of kitties and puppies up. I will say that it's very hard for me to be humble about our social platform because we have been killing it. This is an example of a woman. I know it looks like a boy in a picture, but it's a young woman with brain cancer. And her friends and family reached out to several shelters because one of her wishes was to be surrounded by a plethora of puppies. And everybody turned her down until she got a hold of Front Street. So we said, sure. And it was a surprise, and we set her up in our conference room, and she's blindfolded, didn't know what was happening. And we brought her in, there were like 25 puppies. And if you watch it, I'm not gonna play it for you, but if you watch it, it brings tears to your eyes. We didn't do this for money. There's no donation component to this. She wasn't going to adopt, she's dying, right? We did it because it was the right thing to do. And so we asked her, I have 15 minutes? Okay. So we asked her, talk faster, if we could do a video. And she said, absolutely. It went viral. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. Paying attention to social media is one of the smartest things you can do. I do not give Zuckerberg any money. Did you notice this video was viewed 2 million times? It was viewed over 1 million minutes. That's a lot of time for a minute video. It went all over the world. This builds goodwill. We didn't do it for money. We didn't do it for adoptions. But it's such a feel-good story. So we're branding in the minds of our community, wow, this is a good place. I should trust this place. They do things just because it's the right thing to do. And I know that sounds kind of altruistic and, Pollyanna. It's true. Do it just because it's right. Don't do it because there's something in it for you. But always keep an eighth of an eye cocked out for opportunity, which we do. Instagram. I know that most of you have Instagram accounts. Are you paying really good attention to that platform? I don't know how well that reads back there, but the thing I want to emphasize is that by 2019, there'll be 111 million Americans on this platform if we aren't there already. The big thing is, though, most of the people on Instagram are 24 years of age and younger. There are 12-year-olds out there with Instagram accounts. I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't have a lot of money for humane education and going into the classrooms like we used to, right? This is humane education. You're reaching all these youngsters, right? Developing future adopters, philanthropy for animals, benevolence for animals. Use this tool. Don't think of it as social media. Think about it as education for young people. There's no other way you're going to reach that audience. They don't like Facebook anymore. And what's the other thing? MySpace or whatever? That's gone. Snap's going to die. But Instagram right now, yeah, Snap's going to die. But pay attention to the next platform. Do not put all your eggs in one Facebook basket. Don't do it. I don't know. That's how I like to look at it. This is like my favorite thing ever. And if there's time, I'm going to play this video for you. It's another example of doing something not for adoptions and not for donations, but just because it was funny. Some guy, some derelict, breaks into our shelter, jumps over the wall, and breaks through the little pane of glass you can see behind him, the lower level, to steal our gumball machine. And he tries to get it through the single pane of glass, and it's larger than the pane, or the space, and it's his saga getting this gumball machine out of our shelter. And we got to work in the morning, there were gumballs everywhere and quarters everywhere, and I was pissed off. I like that gumball machine. It made us a lot of money. So police come out. I didn't feel that they were gonna do much, right? It's a gumball machine, right? So I said to Bobby, let's get the surveillance video, and let's put music to it, and let's make it funny. Just because, right? Just because we could. Police department was not very happy with me, but they actively went to work trying to catch the gumball bandit. Every station in town picked up this story, like I said, because they watch our pages. So we decided to do what's called News Track, and any of you can do that. It's not very expensive either, to see how well a story does. This, by far, is the biggest single non-hard news story coming out of Sacramento that we have ever tracked or know of. Holy cow! 40 million people saw this crazy video. I got a phone call from Fuji TV in Japan. Can I play your video in Japan? Sure! So they calculate ad value. And this isn't print or this isn't print or social, this is just TV and radio. If I had to pay for the publicity that this generated for our shelter around the world, it would have cost us over $2.5 million. Don't let me tell you that our city leaders don't like this stuff. They love it. They love it. And I didn't have this in my notes, but this is important for you to know. 6 years ago, we had 31 employees, and our budget was about 1.7 million less than it is today. As we got better, council, city managers started really paying attention to what we're doing and our needs. We now have 53 employees. That's quite an addition in 6 years, I think, and the budget augmentation of about $1.7 million. Do good work, people will pay attention. Donations, $26,000 a year, $1 million a year. Petco Foundation, are any of you partners? If you're not, shame on you. They've given us $3.5 million in the last 3 years. That's a lot of money to put to good work. It just takes a little work. And tell your stories. It's just so easy. These are the 3 things that, in my opinion, matter. Take risks, trust, and I don't want to forget to say this. In 2014, it was the darkest period of my career in animal welfare. For any of you who have been chased by the no-kill haters that threaten your life, if you've ever been there, it was excruciatingly painful. And I didn't want to kill myself, but if I was going to kill myself, I would imagine that's how I would have felt. It was horrible. And the only reason my team and I made it through that dark patch was because of our volunteers. They were like a life raft around us. We can't defend ourselves on social media, but they could. We can't come out publicly and say none of this crap is true, but they could. And without them, I don't know that it would have stayed. It was, yeah. It's still a really, I'm past it now. Therapy helped. I'm just kidding. But trust people. Let people help you. They want to help you. We recently did a blanket drive, 2 social posts. And we got blankets from all over the world. UPS trucks full from Canada and Mexico. We got a blanket from Australia. Social, grow your social, pay attention, engage your community, and you ask for something, they'll give it to you. I asked for Kongs and biscuits and peanut butter, and we got 5 pallets worth. Yeah, every homeless person in Sacramento has a jar of peanut butter. Anyway, Always be hungry, always seek that next opportunity. You can never rest on your laurels. You are never done. We're never done. There's that next thing. What is that next thing? And I always tell my team, okay, we're just gonna take a little break. And then one of us gets this brainy idea and off we go to the races again. You always have to have something to chase. The smallest, oldest shelter in Sacramento with the fewest employees and the littlest budget flipped animal welfare upside down in Sacramento. And what I think we did was change the game. Sacramento County Shelter, Bradshaw's doing very well. They're like right here on my backside, chasing me. Sacramento SPCA is marching in the Pride Parade. Things have flipped. So you can be a catalyst for change in your communities, I think. Hopefully I inspired or ignited something in some of you. If you want to talk further, I'll be around. Now go back to your shelters and get to work. Here's my favorite quote. Robin Williams is one of my favorite ever people. When he died, I was very sad. You're only given one little spark of madness and you mustn't lose it. I recently was at the local brewery around the corner from my house. There's this game called Wet Head. If you haven't played it, it's cheap and it's fun. Buy 4 of them. They fill the cup with water and you pull things, you get all wet. If I die, that will be on my little leaflet at the funeral because that is who I am. Thank you very much. Do you want to watch the Gumball Bandit? I just love this video. I have probably watched, well, I watched it enough to where my husband said, turn down the volume. How do I get that on my screen? Where's that guy?
Just hit the backward arrow.
Where'd he go? Can you guys see this? Now can you see it?
No.
It worked earlier. Come on, Kelly, help me out here. I'm a beginner. She speaks all the time.
Okay, where are you here? Oh, what is this?
That's the Gumball Bandit. I want it to show on that screen.
Oh, where's your PowerPoint?
My PowerPoint is right here.
Right, so it's embedded in your PowerPoint.
No, it's not.
Oh.
I just went to the
Now I
URL.
can't. Oh, here you go. Hold on.
Oh, wait. Go there. No, go back. So it was showing. Go there. Well, it worked earlier. Shut down the PowerPoint.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry.
I thought I was going to save her, but...
That's why I hire millennials and...
No, I'm not helpful. I'm a millennial.
Oh, there it is.
There we go.
We never caught him either. I don't know. I just love that video. And, people want to be entertained. Sometimes it just has to be fun. Well, I don't know what that is. How's it still playing? I shut my computer.